Good morning. Thank you, Nancy, for that lovely prelude. Before we begin today's service, we have a few announcements. First of all, if you have not already done so, this would be a great time to silence or turn off your phones. Next Sunday, our halftime minister, Reverend Tony Lorenzen, will reflect on our journey as a welcoming congregation, where it is leading us now, who we are called to listen to today, and what we are being called to do based on what we hear. We hope to see you there. I'd like to invite two members of our board of trustees, Peter and Annie, up to share an announcement with us all regarding our next steps in living into being a welcoming congregation.
Morning, folks. It's us again. So, quick question. How many of you sitting here today went through the Welcoming Congregation certification? I knew it. Look around, folks. Two. Three. Yeah, when was that? Oh, that's in my... And how many of you sitting here today actually know the details of what it means to be a welcoming congregation? Yeah, right. Couple, but not a lot. Good. So interesting that we do call ourselves a welcoming congregation. But my sense is that we are a little short on exactly what it means, and that just proved it. And more importantly, how that translates into our community and individual behaviors. Little history. It would seem like a no-brainer that UUs would be supportive of the rights and worth of lesbian, gay, and bisexual persons. The lived experience of these people in UU congregations spoke a different and painful truth. But in the 1970s, when the UUA looked deeper and documented practices in many congregations, it exposed many negative attitudes and profound ignorance about bisexual, gay, and lesbian people, which resulted in the exclusion of bisexual, gay, and lesbian people from UU congregations. From that initial study, the UUA released a handbook in 1990 to help congregations recognize and realize what it really meant to affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person. That was the beginning of the Welcoming Congregation program. In October of 1999, the Unitarian Universalist Society of Northern Fairfield County, aka UU Danbury, completed the UUA training and certification program. And in the winter of 2000, the UUA officially certified UU Danbury as a welcoming congregation. What we didn't do, there was an additional handbook developed to help congregations be more inclusive of transgender identity, bisexual identity. That program was called Transgender Identity, What It Means. Guess what? We never incorporated that additional handbook into our welcoming congregation certification.
Continued learning keeps our commitment. Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Annie Chanel, and I'm your brand new vice president of the board. So this is my first board speech. Yay me. Continued learning keeps our commitment to being a welcoming congregation. This congregational year, the board is offering us an opportunity to side with love and learn more about being welcoming to our transgender friends and neighbors. Learning more about the issues transgender people face in the current political climate will help us to be better allies. The board is offering all members and friends an opportunity to participate in this year's UU Common Read, which is titled Authentic Selves, Celebrating Trans and Non-binary people and their families. We'll have more information about ordering the book over the next couple of weeks, as a bulk order will save us money. We will have copies to borrow as well. All of our members and friends are also invited to participate in a program that's called Trans Inclusion of Our Congregations. We'll have discussion groups, and Reverend Tony will offer services to help us center our continued learning on how we welcome transgender individuals to our congregation as we side with love. Reading the book and participating in any of these planned activities is, of course, completely optional. The board, however, is really excited about this program and how much we can learn over the next 8 months.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter and Annie. That all sounds great. And finally, UU Danbury is returning to a live in-person auction this year. There will be lots of goodies, lots of fun, and we are looking to this as a major fundraiser, and we hope that it will be a huge success. So hopefully you are thinking of what you can do to help. Donate a dinner, a gift card, a service, help at the in-person event on November 2nd. You can contact Barb Myers or Lisa Horton. Not today, no. But you can call her or email her to volunteer for more information. And be sure to stop by the costume kiosk across the way in the Cottage House after today's service for help with creating or embellishing your auction attire. So to learn more about what's happening at UUCD, please see your order of service, our weekly email newsletter, and the events calendar on our website at uudanbury.org. Now I'm hoping Charlie will help us out by ringing our chimes. Thank you, Charlie. So good morning again. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Danbury. My name is Darlene Anderson Alexander, the Sunday Services Team Coordinator for this morning's service. I've participated in and been held by this community in a number of ways over the years, although this weekend I'm especially remembering one big UUCD moment for me, and that was when I married my 6th generation Universalist husband, Dean, who's not here today, 33 years ago at the barn in West Reading, the former spiritual home of this congregation. Thank you. Here at UUCD, we welcome all, regardless of age, gender, race, disability, ethnicity, immigration status, sexual orientation, religious background, or political affiliation, factors that can often separate people in our larger culture. I'm so glad that you are able to join us this morning because you are all an essential part of our gathering today. Whether this is your first time or 1,000th Sunday in our midst, in person or online, we are stronger because you are with us. Together, we make community. As a congregation, we have been gathering together for over 200 years. As we work to build a more just world, we respectfully acknowledge that our physical building here on Clapboard Ridge Road is on the traditional unceded land of the Pequawset people. And we are currently actively working on ways to be in relationship with and support the Golden Hill Pequawset tribe. Before we get started today, though, I invite you to greet your neighbors, either here next to you or joining online. Say hello, wave, introduce yourself. All right, and we can chat more today during coffee hour. I would like to invite Nell to come up to help us with our chalice lighting. She can bring support with her if she wants. We make this time and this place holy simply by being together, and we begin by lighting the flaming chalice, symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. Please join me in reciting this morning's words to light our chalice. You may find them in your order of service and on the screen. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and justice is its life. This is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek and speak the truth in love, to help one another and celebrate life. And now I invite you to rise and body your spirit and join in singing our hymn of welcome, number 108 in the Teal hymnal, and also on the screen, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place.
Let's say the words of our children's affirmation. The words will be on the screen. It's so good to be together. We are Unitarian Universalists. We are people with open minds, loving hearts, and helping hands. We care for the earth and each other. Our story today is called The Rabbit Listened by Corey Dorfeld. One day, Taylor decided to build something new, something special, something amazing. Taylor was so proud. But then, out of nowhere,
Squawk, squawk.
things came crashing down. The chicken was the first to notice.
Cluck, cluck. What a shame. I'm so sorry this happened. Let's talk about it. Cluck, cluck.
But Taylor didn't feel like talking, so the chicken left. Next came the bear.
Grr, roar, how horrible. I bet you feel so angry. Let's shout about it. Grr, roar, grr.
But Taylor didn't feel like shouting, so the bear left. The elephant knew just what to do.
Trumpada, trumpada, I can fix this. We just need to remember exactly the way things were.
But Taylor didn't feel like remembering, so the elephant also left. One by one they came. The hyena,
Let's laugh about it.
the ostrich,
Gulp, let's hide and pretend nothing happened.
the kangaroo,
Tisk tisk, what a mess. Let's throw it all away.
and the snake.
Shh. Let's go knock down someone else's.
But Taylor didn't feel like doing anything with anybody. So eventually they all left until Taylor was alone. In the quiet, Taylor didn't even notice the rabbit. But it moved closer and closer until Taylor could feel its warm body. Together they sat in silence until Taylor said, "Please, stay with me." The rabbit listened. The rabbit listened while Taylor talked. The rabbit listened as Taylor shouted. The rabbit listened as Taylor remembered and laughed. The rabbit listened to Taylor's plan to hide, to throw everything away, to ruin things for someone else. Through it all, Rabbit never left. And when the time was right, the rabbit listened to Taylor's plans to build again. "I can't wait," Taylor said. "It's going to be amazing." So ends the story. Because we listen with care to the needs of our neighbors, we help when asked whenever we can. In a moment, while we sing this little light of mine, multiple verses, let's see, I think Paige will light our lantern to carry the light of the chalice into the morning's children's programs. And I invite everyone who has brought food donations for Dorothy Day Hospitality House to hold them up so that the kids can come around and collect them and put them in the basket that Sterling will carry. And we'll have you slowly follow behind Paige with the lantern as you leave. I won't be going down with you this morning, kids, but Bruni will. So let's sing. So good to see each of you. In the words of one of my own ministers, the Reverend Megan Lloyd Joyner, let's put hands on hearts. Feel the warm connection. Let love in this moment flow. Say to yourself silently, I will love myself. I will love others. And that love will heal the world. I'm going to go with something different than what's listed in the order of service for a reading. You can find the listed reading online if you'd like to, but I felt moved this morning to bring you something a little different. So here, a poem instead. Because, by Rosemary Watola Trommer. So, I can't save the world, can't even save myself, can't wrap my arms around every frightened child, can't foster peace among nations, can't bring love to all who feel unlovable. So I practice opening my heart right here in this room and being gentle with my insufficiency. I practice walking down the street heart first. And if it is insufficient to share love, I will practice loving anyway. I want to converse about truth, about trust. I want to invite compassion into every interaction. One willing heart can't stop a war. One willing heart can't feed all the hungry. And sometimes, daunted by a task too big, I tell myself, what's the use of trying? But today, the invitation is clear. To be ridiculously courageous in love. To open the heart like a lilac in May. Knowing freeze is possible and opening anyway. To take love seriously. To give love wildly. To race up to the world as if I were a puppy, adoring and unjaded, stumbling on my own exuberance. To feel the shock of indifference, of anger, of cruelty, of fear, and stay open. To love as if it matters, as if the world depends on it. So ends the reading.
When we give our time and energy to the work of this congregation, and when we donate to its financial support, we are giving gifts to each other. Each one of us gives to and receives gifts from all of our members and friends. Together, we give to the community around us. There are multiple ways to give this morning. The offering plates will pass here in the sanctuary. To give electronically, you may use the QR code that is projected on the screen, and you may also mail a check to UUCD at 24 Clapboard Ridge Road in Danbury. Of course, if this is one of your first times visiting us, your offering to us is just your presence today. The offering will now be gratefully received. Thank you for your generosity.
I think I'm going to change up a few things this morning from what I had planned, so pardon me if I do. When I first started drafting these reflections, they came in the form of a love letter to this congregation, this community. That probably shouldn't be a surprise. I had sat down with this stole that Val made for me several years ago, not long after I arrived here, actually for my ordination. And I thought of each of you. One at a time, I thought about each of you. And I thought of the visitors who I might meet today for the first time. I thought of the hearts you carry around in this world. It was not possible to engage this exercise without feeling profound love for this community and each of you. Each of you. And also for all whom you love, all who shape your hearts. I know it means something different to each of us to hold our hands over our hearts and say to ourselves, I will love myself. I will love others. And this love will heal the world. I know healing the world by loving my disabled self means something particular. And that for me as a white person, healing the world by loving myself and loving others also means something particular. The loving, healing work to which each of us is called is particular. I'm not here to say exactly what form love will take for each of us, or that the power of that love will find the same form. But I am here with a loving heart to ask, beloved, how is your heart today? How is your heart? If you'd like to respond with one word, I'll say it back into the microphone so those online can hear it. Warm. Healing, joyous, full, healthy, hurting, blessed. This isn't necessarily a question we can take on every day. One of my preaching instructors of beloved memory, Thomas Troger, a Presbyterian minister and Episcopal priest, used to tell a story of his awakening at the hospital after a successful heart valve replacement. He became aware of his surroundings and checked in with his wife, and he experienced the gratitude of his surgery having gone so well. But he soon found himself very irritated. He thought, they must be doing work on this part of the hospital. Don't they know there are people here trying to recover from surgery? There was a loud, unrelenting clanging noise. He asked his wife about the work being done on the portion of the hospital he was in, and she didn't know of any. He looked out the window and he didn't see anything going out in the street. And finally, he told his wife that he could not stand the clanging anymore. She said, "What are you talking about?" This is when he learned that he was hearing his heartbeat. As he would tell the story, he would wrap his fist into a ball and pump it like a heart. You can do the same for a minute if you want. Make a fist and pump it the way your heart is pumping right now. Just remember that that's what it's doing. This is the day Thomas would say that he became really, truly aware of this incredible part of his body and the work that it does for him. Our metaphorical hearts, our core being functions in much the same way, mostly outside of our conscious awareness. If we were aware of it all the time, it would probably be too much. Can you imagine having the awareness of your heart beating as unrelenting as a clanging noise? Or being as aware of what is most at stake, what is most heartbreaking, most beautiful, most powerful in every moment? Of course, there's an entire field of psychology built around this. The idea that we protect ourselves from overwhelm by keeping some things submerged below our conscious awareness, but that sometimes it's necessary to raise them up into our awareness so we can deal with what is actually happening for us all the time. I come to this service with three reminders, three messages of care. This is the first. We don't always know how we're doing. And this is a protective mechanism that allows us to function. But we also need spaces in which we are safe to get real and to deal with those aspects of the human experience that guide us from behind the scenes and bring us the most joy and the deepest griefs and the terror of living and dying. How many of you became aware during the silent meditation of about something around your internal state, your internal condition, that you were not fully aware of when you first arrived in this room? How many? Perhaps that was you. And how many of you during milestones became aware of something about our shared community that you were not fully or consciously aware of when you came into this room? Some of you. The awareness of what is, the awareness of our human hearts beating in our chest in this fleeting moment can be such an unusual experience that it comes through as a mystical experience. Did I ever tell you about my grocery store experience? I didn't tell you about that? One day I was shopping in the grocery store, and all of a sudden I became aware that everybody around me was just so beautiful. Like all this life was just so magical, miraculous, incredible. And that we were all connected in these odd sorts of ways. So I was walking around the grocery store aisles just smiling, like looked like completely out of my mind, just could not stop smiling no matter what I did. I greeted everybody I saw. I just could not help myself. Everybody just looked so beautiful, so wonderful, so magical. And I'm sure people thought, what is this lady up to? But it was just incredible. It was a mystical experience. I don't know how to explain it to you. It just happened. It just happened one day. And I haven't been able to recreate it, right? I can't go into another grocery store and go, oh, this is the day I'm going to feel that, because it was such a powerful feeling. This awareness may also take us by surprise when the veil between birth and life and death is thin. Somebody reminded me this week of when my son arrived in my life. My oldest child came to us really unexpectedly. I got a call that there was a newborn baby in the hospital, and could I come and get him and be a foster placement, maybe an adoptive placement. And I walked into the hospital and I went to the special care nursery, and a nurse said, let me introduce you to your baby. And I was by his bedside, and I was working still because there was no maternity leave for foster placements. So I was working by his bedside day and night for the next 7 days. And then I took him home. And the day that I took him home, and some of you who have taken children home from the hospital or children home from other settings will know what I'm talking about. I just became completely overwhelmed by the hugeness of it all. And this was not my first time parenting, but this was my first time with this baby, and it was just huge. And so I sat on my couch. Gina, my wife, went back to work, and I just sobbed. And then I remember I made the mistake of calling a childless friend who was very young and not yet ready to hear this. And I was sobbing on the phone with her, and she couldn't understand what I was saying. And she said, "But aren't you happy?" Yes, yes, I was happy, and it was huge. And I can also remember the time when I was in high school when my sister's best friend died in a car accident um, in her first year of college. And I can remember the way that suddenly everything that wasn't important fell away. And it was all about what was right in front of me and this moment and these people I was with. And I remember sitting with her mother at her dining room table and just crying together and laughing and telling stories and realizing that everything that I thought was important was gone. So often these stories are threaded through with community, the practices we have with others to hold one another in care as we touch what is real. In the moments after the pandemic, I remember after the pandemic started and people were having to come home, I remember for a minute having this moment of elation about being with my family and having this like, oh, we have nothing else to do. We might as well just love on each other. And then my wife lost her job in the food industry. And I got so scared. I got so scared. And my friend Pearl, who is a self-employed individual, a minister, who I'll mention later in the sermon, she called me up and talked to me about what was going on. And then she showed up on my doorstep and dropped off tons of pinto beans and rice and all the kinds of food that my family eats, and toilet paper and all those necessities. The second message of care that I have for you is that in the same way that we can be held in community, our hearts are impacted by community. We are affected by the world in which we live, even when its effects are not part of our conscious awareness. Even those who say they are apolitical will be impacted by the upcoming elections. None of our hearts are untouched by suffering in corners of the world, even when one part of its impact is to, in our grief, try to turn away. There's not a religious tradition that I know of that does not deal in some significant way with interconnectedness. In our shared Unitarian Universalist tradition, it is one of our 7 core values. In my theological orientation, Christianity, it is what is called the body of Christ, which is made up not of the flesh and blood of Jesus, but the flesh and blood of people. You cannot be unaffected by an injured eye or hand, and you cannot be unaffected by things that happen to your siblings, even those you have never met, including their pain. In Taoism, it is the universal oneness of the Tao. Buddhism teaches, at least in some sects, about a dependent origination. There's a Japanese term for this, which I understand is literally translated as arising in relation. So my friend Pearl, who I mentioned earlier, Pearl Batista of mixed racial backgrounds, researched the impact not of our American history of slavery on people of color as well as white folks, but the impact of our lack of reparations Our failure to, in her religious language, practice contrition and repentance for our national misuse of religion in building the slave nation. Many months into her research, she said, beyond any doubt, we are a deeply wounded people. Which brings us to my third message. Our hearts can be full of gratitude and magic and wonder and beauty. And we also need a balm for the wounds that are as inevitable in our lives as skinned knees and paper cuts. We do not always have a fix, but like Rabbit, we can turn our attention to what is needed in the moment and listen to ourselves and each other with an open heart. This is our work. So may it be. Let's sing our closing song. It's number 159. This is my song. Please rise in body or in spirit.
This is my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace for lands afar and mine. This is my home, the country where my heart is. Here are my hopes, my dreams, my holy shrine. But other hearts in other lands are beating with hopes and dreams as true and high as mine. My country's skies are bluer than the ocean, and sunlight beams on clover leaf and pine. But other lands have sunlight too and clover, and skies are everywhere as blue as mine. Oh, hear my song, thou God of all the nations, a song of peace for their land and for mine.
Join me in the words to extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame.
Go out into the world with courage. Return to no person evil for evil. Hold on to what is good. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the suffering. Honor all beings. Go in peace.